Hello everybody, this is Spinal Oblivion here, presenting you with another review. This time I chose to do Final Fantasy 13-2. Now, this game starts off with a cutscene where Lightning is fighting a man named Caius. I'm going to add that I'm playing on the Xbox 360, and when I am playing, the cutscene graphics and even the gameplay graphics are fantastic. I think they are amazing. I will say my graphics card is pretty bad, so it's not even HD here, but trust me, it's really nice. Now after this whole cutscene, you will start the game as Lightning, and then you'll learn a bunch of tutorials, and you'll wake up as Sarah here, and where apparently she is Sailor Moon or some stuff. Her clothes, her outfit changes. You wake up 3 years from the first game when it ended, and everyone's living on Grand Pulse now. And so then you get up and you figure out what the game is about. You get a little bit more into the story, a little bit more character in depth. Alright, so let's go over some of the same things from this in Final Fantasy 13. Now this, you'll notice this is pretty much the same, except you don't get to hold and hear the points go through, which I really liked. But you know, it's not that big of a deal. You just click A, and if you have enough points, it just automatically upgrades. And it expands, and you go around in a circle, and once you level up the circle, or whatever the pattern is, you get to do one of those choices. You can learn stuff, you can unlock another role, you can increase the ATB gauge, but it still looks great. I mean, you can still look at the background, it looks beautiful, looks like you're in space. Another good thing they kept in, of course, are the chocobos. How can you live without the chocobos in a Final Fantasy game, of course? In this game, they appear a lot more early on. You get to use them a lot more as long as you have Gasol Greens, I think that's how they're pronounced. Anyway, let's get on to some of the new stuff. There are two types of chests in this game, the cubes and the spheres. The spheres stay anywhere, and the cubes, on the other hand, you can only get in a certain time zone or a certain part of the game. You also have a Moogle, as you can see. His name is Moog. He's very cute, very enjoyable. He also turns into your weapons. His head also glows when he finds treasure chests, as you can see right there. He actually went the wrong way, but there he goes. So then you press the RB button and he does some of his Moogle magic, and boom, there you go. And this is actually a fragment, not a chest, and they will do something later on. So let's move right along. The next thing you'll see is right before like a battle starts, when the monsters appear, this timer appears. Now if you hit A and strike them while the cursor is still in the green, you can get a preemptive strike, as you can see here. You get them into a little bit more stagger than they usually would be at. And also you get haste for quite a while, which is really helpful. Overall, the battle system is still quite the same, as you can see. You still have the 6 roles. Of course, you can customize them and you can paradigm shift between them. So if you were like me and actually liked this battle system, I know a lot of people hated it in the first one, but I thought it was just fun, and you also get to actually watch people actually do their attacks. I think I'm just about to kill this guy. There we go. So even after battles, it's pretty much the same. Tells you your score, boom, 5 stars. You get a little bonus for getting 5 stars. You get an item. Also, there's a lot more side quests in this game, which is amazing. I love it so much. Reason 1, because there are side quests. Reason 2 is because some of them you actually have to do later on in the game, like you accept the quest now and you have to go later in time or back in time to actually do the quest, so you actually have to go back and forth. And that way I find a lot more appealing, because it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna do this chore for this person, and then this chore for this person, and then this chore for this person. So when you're doing them, like, you accept it, and then later on you might find the piece or the item they're looking for, and then you just kind of remember, and you're like, oh, I can go back and get my shard. And that way it just doesn't feel like chore after chore. So that's one big improvement, I think. The next thing, as you'll see, is a way to get to know the characters better or the surroundings better. I personally love it. That way you get to find out a question that you may want to know. You get to ask them a question out of the 4. The only problem I have with this is sometimes there's 2 questions or even 3 that I want to ask or know about, and you ask them one and then it's pretty much over, and you can't ask about the other ones. So that's one thing that I really don't like about it, but it's acceptable. And sometimes you actually get to choose a decision, whether you want to do this or that. But overall, definitely an improvement. Love it. Sometimes the decisions involved, do you want to fight this giant monster, or would you like to find a different way to get him to be removed by weakening him first with this or this. But I chose, like, you know, I fought giant monsters before, so I could take him, no problem. I was wrong, and I made a horrible decision there. It was like the first time I died. I was very upset, so I actually had to retry. But I didn't make the same mistake twice. Here you'll see an artifact. You collect artifacts and you can go to different gates and whether or not you have the right artifact for that gate. You can travel to a different part in time. You can always go back, of course, in case you want to, or you just need to do some quest. This is the Historia, and this is where you actually choose what time zone you want to go into. I have only 3 unlocked right here. You choose which one you want to go to, you hit A, it'll give you a brief description of that time period. You can see how many gates you've unlocked underneath the name, and you can also see how many fragments you have unlocked from that time period. So that way you can go back and forth through time. As I said before, do quests, go back, just whatever you want to do. The next thing I want to show you guys is something actually really cool about this game. You'll notice once I kill this creature, he turns into a crystal, and you'll see right there when it turns blue. Here, I'll show you again. So once you actually defeat some creatures, you have a chance of actually getting them to fight with you. You'll know that they can once you see their name turn blue right there as a reward. And it's pretty much just a third party member. I mean, you get Ravengers, Medics, Saboteurs, all of them. And you can just pretty much pick which ones you want for which. You can have 3, and from those 3 you can put it as your third party member, so whenever you shift, it's pretty cool. This is how you actually level them up. It looks the same, but it's completely different. Pretty much, you just got the same basic core. You know, you pick one thing, but you actually use items instead of like XP. Depending on what grade the creature actually is, depends on what item you'll use and whether or not they're mechanical or biological, of course. And each creature has a certain special attack that he or she can use in battle, which is really cool. And I mean, what kind of game would this be if you're gonna grab your Moogle and just chuck him to get an item for you? Hopefully he gets that for me. Sometimes he takes a while, sometimes he gets it pretty quick. This is one of those instances where it takes a while. There we go, 6 power chips. The last thing, of course, I'd like to point out is the cinematic actions, which is when the button pops up, you press it just like in other games you've played, God of War, for instance. Well, that's all I have. I would like to thank you all for listening and watching my video. Please rate, maybe a comment. I know I'm not the best, but I'm trying.